Hi there. Welcome to another one of my Own Your Expertise interviews. I'm Emily Crookston, owner and decider of all things at the Pocket PhD. I'm the ghostwriter for Rebels, Renegades, and Mavericks, and I love helping experts with big ideas get those ideas out of their heads and into the hands of their fans. Today, I'm sitting down with Sean Guillory. Sean is a robotics process automation bot developer, and he works in the area of defense and national security, but he can't give us any of his secrets. So we'll see what we can we can pull out of him. Sean, thank you for speaking with me. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about who you work with and what you do?
Yeah, in terms of the day-to-day, the kind of things I do would be helping clients mainly in defense around process automations, and then also helping out utilizing my PhD in cognitive neuroscience, different things within that realm of quote cognitive security. So things around like misinformation, disinformation, and things kind of like within that realm. So I try to be helpful around that.
Yeah, it's so interesting because, of course, computers are programmed by human beings. So the human biases are going to be in there in some way. And how do you root those out? And yeah, super interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Very cool. Love this. All right. So, how would you describe your path to becoming the expert you are today?
It started mainly just by following my passion, and my passion, at least starting in undergraduate, was studying uh, things around humor and laughter. And again, it's just weird. Again, like I don't know exactly where it happened, but
Uh-huh.
this notebook that I had that I wrote like all my jokes in became the same notebook, probably out of pure laziness, that I used to write like my college notes in. And somewhere I got on like, all right, what's going on with like humor and laughter? That went into eventually like, okay, there's probably something with the brain. So I went to grad school for things in terms
Uh-huh.
of cognitive neuroscience. First focused on like humor and laughter. I got to do like great research on that.
Yeah.
But then moving into working with neurosurgery patients to
Mm.
help map for functions that were just personally important for their lives. And I really just ended up being because of personal connection I had with the patients. I'm like, okay, like very rarely are they like, I don't want to do your goofy experiments. I asked them why, and they're like, because I know it's going to help the people that come to this
Mm.
bed right after me. So I'm like, okay, like I
Mm.
want to do that. I want to do stuff that actually like has application in helping these patients right now. So that kind of had me focus on that.
Uh-huh.
Even when I ended up moving in terms of business incubation, that was because I saw in terms of certain walls and things, it felt like in terms of getting some of these protocols, and like I got published in Science or Nature, I'm like, holy cow, like
Uh,
just the process to go through versus velvet ropes kind of being lifted for
mm.
say like the Medtronics and Strikers of the world. I'm like, okay,
Mm.
like they're getting stuff to people quickly, how do I do that?
Mm.
That got me out of academia. I got to see like how my skill set was helpful outside of that. We were doing machine learning algorithms on
Sure.
fMRI data. I had no idea they had application outside of science and
Wow.
academia. But yeah, like from there, went the data science route, got me in terms of process automations, and
Wow.
then after discovering the psychology of intelligence analysis by Richard Hoyer,
Uh,
uh, that piqued my interest in terms of at first intelligence analysis methodology, but that got me on the road like, okay, how can this background be helpful in defense and national security?
yeah.
Asking the right people, feeling very lucky in terms of the folks that gave me the time of day, and that kind of gets us to where I am here.
I like how, you had the humor piece in the beginning and how that you realized that was just like something around psychology. You're like, there's something in here that I'm, picking on, or that's fascinating me, and then just taking it into these different arenas. So I love this question. What's your die in a ditch belief? I like to ask this of all my interviewees when I can. So for the audience, a die in a ditch belief is something you've thought long and hard about. It's something you would be willing to defend if pressed, and it might be a little controversial. So tell us, Sean, what's your die in a ditch belief?
The very nice way I'd probably put this
Uh-huh.
is currently in academic research, the focus is so much on internal validity in terms of having things work in the lab, in a laboratory setting. And for various reasons, a lot of them because of the incentives that are kind of in place, not so much on getting these things applied and helping people and how do they work in the field and how do they kind of operationalize in the field. And that is, it leads to, when these things are tested and they don't work in these kind of applications, a lot of mistrust in terms of folks who want to do this kind of research, in terms of passing off the whole field. And again, it's just something where, it's just not helpful.
Yeah, but I think the point of getting academics to talk to people outside of academia is always a big a big part. We're in our labs or in our heads doing all this theoretical work all the time and playing around. I mean, lab is less theoretical, but playing around with these different things. And then yeah, you're right, like then we want to take it to the outside world and there's a disconnect, or it doesn't work, or it's harder to explain to, I'm sure, medical doctors how to make this work in the real world. And it's like, if it works in the lab, that's great, but how useful is that if it doesn't work outside of the lab, right?
Yeah, and I guess like another thing to kind of pub on that is just letting folks know that background. There is just so many like natural, like in profession, like in industry kind of situations where your skill set in terms of understanding methodology and forming a good research question are a total asset.
Yeah, the applications of data, it's funny because numbers people often don't think about the application, the practical side, and people who aren't numbers oriented don't think about data at all. They don't think about how data can help them. So bridging that gap, I think, is a really important skill to have, to be able to talk about. Cool. Last question. So what do you like to do to re-energize? What do you do outside of work?
Oh my goodness, here's where it comes out. I'm the most boring human on earth. Again, like, so I have a 6-year-old and I have a 1-year-old.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
They're entertaining as all heck.
Sure.
Yeah, here's one thing that like folks get a kick out. Like, so for a long time, I'm just like a huge pro wrestling fan. And this actually does wait, hold on, wait a minute. Be in terms of like the teachiness, like it's like the highest form of kind of like low entertainment, but also the aspect of there's so much aspect of psychology in terms of okay, how much is this like actually this real person versus not? And the term for that is kayfabe. And while saying that term kind of gets people kind of like tilt their head like a dog maybe like 10 years ago, anybody that's lived through like the last 5 years of like political kind of environment and like, is this really this person or not, and be able to kind of have that as plausible deniability. Oh, that was just me, the character on TV.
Sure.
More and more, again, like concepts like that are helpful. So yeah, like, so I just love kind of like the psychology in terms of, you get like direct response from the crowd to be like, okay, this worked or this is not work. Like, there's so many things like that.
That's cool. Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think when you're curious about the world, anything can be interesting. Laying in the grass and watching the bugs crawl around, can be cool. So I'm not judging on the pro wrestling. That's awesome. That's great. Oh, Sean, I've enjoyed this conversation. Let everybody know where they can find out more about you if they're curious.
Probably the easiest way is going to be via my LinkedIn. Probably like once a day. Don't tell my bosses that. But in terms of just like interacting with folks and getting like meeting kind of interesting folks, because yeah, I've been trying to find find more of my tribe, so to speak, in terms of folks interested in the subject, and try to get other folks interested in it. So yeah, reach out to me on LinkedIn anytime.
Awesome. Great. Thanks so much, Sean.
It was wonderful talking with you. Thank you.